And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this second day of March 2022. Well, it's wonderful to have your company on this day. It's bright and sunny out there today, 26 degrees and mostly funny. And of course, it is a aftermath when we are cleaning up after the floods, and what a task it is. Well, right now, let's take a look at some of the scenes that are happening out there. So this is the area where I normally walk every morning. So as you can see, there's a lot of cleaning that really needs to be done right here. And these are the scenes that are coming this morning from the hard work that is ahead of us now in the big cleanup campaign on Brisbane River as the flood recedes. So as you can see, there's a lot of footnotes which is there, which really needs to be cleaned. And it is heartbreaking to see these scenes. You know, there'll be the water has just gone into the levee, which is right up those steps that you see there as well. I mean, look at the scene. It's so beautiful, but of course, right at the moment, it's a big mess there from what would be this wonderful scene. This is from the customs house, and as you can see all along here, it is all silt and slut. So it is devastating news out there. A lot of cleaning up to be done. And of course the Mud Army, and if you have time and if you are able to devote a little bit of effort, could you please sign in? Yesterday I posted the link for where they're calling for volunteers to line up and join in the Mud Army. So if you can look at the work that's ahead of us, please, if you can, volunteer for that, join in. And come and lend a helping hand to clean all this out of the sites there. So there you go. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to this morning. But as I said, this is the kind of scenes that we are waking up to. And as it is devastating as it is, that is what it is at the moment. So, we will need to just battle on, soldier on. And as I mentioned before, if you are able to, please do join into that Mud Army. I posted, and I'll probably towards the end of this show, I'll post that link once again. If you are able to lend a helping hand, this is the time when, Queenslanders, in our real Queenslanders spirit, come out and help neighbours for neighbours, even strangers, people who don't know each other, come together to help out with the efforts. So, ladies and gentlemen, right now, let's go and take a look at some of the reports that have come in. He is the first one on the death tolls.
The body of a 76-year-old man was found this afternoon near Esk, northwest of Brisbane. He was driving on Sunday afternoon when floodwaters washed his car off the road. Another person remains missing. This destructive weather event brought more rain than the 1974 floods. Lexi Hamilton-Smith begins our coverage.
Blue skies across Brisbane, but down below a murky unknown. As waters recede, the pungent smell of drying mud and decaying debris float up. Enter the Mud Army Mark II, the spirit of Brisbane, generosity, mateship and kindness.
Everyone's been very generous with their time and coming in to help us out, so it's been great.
Volunteer soldiers eager to help flood-weary battlers get back on their feet. Hundreds remain underwater.
It's just been mind-blowing because it's just been so intense.
Businesses too are battling an almighty job ahead.
Cleaning up is the first stage, and then being a customer is the second stage.
Dozens of suburbs remain inundated, the ominous high tides pushing levels higher. They recede only to come up again. At Jindalee, Tara Moffat has been through this before.
I actually was suffering really badly in the last
a couple of days with PTSD from 2011. I thought the only way I can actually get over this is to get out and help someone.
Here at Milton, there's still hundreds of people in these high-rise apartments stuck with no power. We've seen a mum with a baby. We've seen people fleeing with just a couple of bags. Look, they can get out, but they have to navigate waist-deep water. The managers of the building have told us insurers say the damage bill so far is $250,000 just this building alone, and rising fast.
I have no words. I'm broken now. I have friends who've lost businesses, have lost their homes, they've lost everything.
It's heartbreaking. It's not really much else to say. It's heartbreaking, really. Just so many people displaced from their homes.
The army is on its way. The crane that was careering down the raging Brisbane River late yesterday has now been secured, but the enormity of this natural disaster is still sinking in.
That's phenomenal. In 2 to 3 days, 80% of the rainfall that Brisbane would usually receive was during that period.
More than 30 locations across the southeast have received 1,000 millimetres of rain, a drenching greater than the 1974 floods. A ninth person has been found in floodwaters near Esk. Another remains missing.
We do hold grave concerns.
Residents in Brisbane's outer west are still cut off. Supermarket shelves are all but empty. For those losing hope, though, help is here. It will take weeks to clean up the city streets, but the recovery will take years. Lexi Hamilton-Smith, ABC News.
And as has been in between all of these, we also have the SES, which is, trying to ask people to limit those calls and only call out for real essentials, and when it is really needed, as has been mentioned in the report before, that it will be a long time before everything gets back to normal, and a lot of work is needed. And as I mentioned before, that if you are able and willing, please do join into that mud army and come and show the true spirit of Queensland.
Every river system has low-lying areas, so anyone that is in a low-lying area should already be prepared. We've been talking about this now for a number of days. However, there is still time. The rivers haven't really started to come up and respond to the current rainfall, but that will come. We're also going to see quite a bit of flash flooding because of the intense nature of some of the rainfall across that particular area. So again, we're asking people to limit their non-essential travel, stay off the roads as best as possible. But very much we're asking people to be aware of their surroundings. So don't just stay indoors, keep your eyes out as to what's going on around you, stay across the warnings, be aware of.
And being aware, it's very important. And of course, as he mentioned before, that keep off the road. But I couldn't believe it. Yesterday we went to Gayatri Mandir because it was Shivratri. And the time it took us to get from the city to the temple was amazing, because most of the roads are closed. So you had to go round and round and circle and find out another route, because and coming back, we thought we'd come by the tunnel, because that's how we finally managed to get there. But in the night, the tunnel was closed. So come down to Albion, then Albion is closed. Then you backtrack all the way. So, and still there's so many people, because still there was a large number of people on the roads. So as we know, driving in and around the city, into even some of the other suburbs, be careful of the potholes. Some of them are dangerously big. And after all the train, there's lots of potholes. If you want to save your sockets, please look out for those and don't just drive through there with the normal speed. You'll damage your sockets. Well, right now, let's go to the next news, where some daring rescue scenes have emerged.
Trapped on the roof with the rest of their house underwater, these Bunga residents need help from above. And they get it. An ADF helicopter hovers over their home, winching them to safety one by one by one. Mark O'Toole in the yellow jacket was one of them. He spoke to ABC local radio while the rescue was taking place.
Like they said today, they said, Mark, look, you're on a priority list. We've got a helicopter over the top of us now.
He'd been stuck there for days along with his disabled son and their elderly landlord.
things are all happening at once.
You think you're being rescued now?
Yes, I hope so. He's gone around and around us. Oh, you got no idea how pleased I am, though.
And they aren't the only ones with daring tales of escape. Many residents of Woodburn were forced to sleep in their cars, stuck on the bridge over the swollen Richmond River.
The wife and baby were sleeping on the bridge, and the first boat turned up on the other side of the bridge to get them to the evac point. So I had to go and wake them up and bundle them up and throw them on the first boat out off the bridge.
Just about all of the nearby houses are underwater, some more so than others.
The true courage and compassion that has been on display is of course heartening. We are positioning further ADF support all along the eastern coast of Australia.
In Ballina, families are getting to safety while they still can.
Just water everywhere. I had to wake him up and quickly tell him to hurry up and pack a few bags and let's go.
Residents here woke up to find the area around them transformed.
It's very deep. There's a lot of water.
An evacuation order was issued for South and West Ballina, along with other low-lying areas.
At the moment, panic is going on with most of Ballina.
The floodwaters have already reached the Ballina motel. This man has lived here for the past 8 months. Now his room is unlivable.
How's it sort of left you feeling this morning?
Devastated. South Ballina is among the worst affected areas in this region. In a sign of just how stretched SES crews are, some residents are using their own boats to rescue their neighbours, many of them elderly residents stuck inside these homes.
This lad needed a bit of help, so, towed him out, and then I'm going to keep doing the same thing for hopefully the rest of the day.
This woman was rescued from her home along with her cat. Fred Connors is another who can thank locals for getting him to safety. Surf lifesavers came to the rescue well away from the beach.
Champions, a daughter from Brisbane, threatened me and said, Dad, if they tell you to get out, get out.
And so should be, as if they ask you to get out. And good on the young fella there, helping everyone. He's not an SES worker, but he's just doing it at his own accord. So that's such the good thing to see. Well, not such a good thing is what's happening out on the other side of the world. 5 dead after the Russian rocket attack. And as these attacks continue, there have been reports coming out, and sometimes reporting things, we get emotional sometimes, telling the stories and looking of the things unfold in the screen in front of us. Such was the case with this reporter.
We are fighting just for our land and for our freedom, despite the fact that all large cities of our country are now blocked. What tanks are they going with? Or launching cruise missiles? He killed 16 people just yesterday.
So the interpreter there, interpreting the news to, breaks down, and he could not handle that news there as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time to go to our daily India report, and with that, let's welcome Himanshu.
Welcome to the daily India report that brings you glimpses of the changing India. In our first story, India calls for an immediate cessation of violence and conflict in the Ukraine. India has reiterated that all differences can only be bridged through honest dialogue. India has said that it is deeply concerned over the deteriorating situation in Ukraine and asked for immediate cessation of hostilities. India urged all sides to resolve differences through honest, sincere and sustained dialogue. India's permanent representative to the UN, Ambassador T.S. Tirumurti, told a rare emergency special session of the UN General Assembly on Ukraine, convened on 28th February, that New Delhi is doing whatever it can to undertake the immediate evacuation of Indian nationals still stranded in Ukraine. He added that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has advocated this in his recent conversations with the leadership of the Russian Federation as well as Ukraine. The safety and security of Indian nationals, including a large number of students, remains our top priority, T.S. Trimurti said. India thanked all neighbouring countries of Ukraine who have opened their borders for Indian citizens and given all facilities to Indian missions and their personnel to evacuate Indian nationals to their homeland. India stepped up evacuation efforts in war-hit Ukraine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has sent 4 union ministers to the neighbouring countries of Ukraine to coordinate the evacuation of stranded Indian nationals. India has decided to send 4 union ministers to the neighbouring countries of Ukraine to coordinate the evacuation process of Indians still stuck in Ukraine and the region. Chartering additional flights and arranging local transport in coordination with Central European countries bordering Ukraine are also part of the strategy. The decisions were taken at high-level meetings chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on 28 February. Union Ministers Jyotiraditya Scindia, Hardeep Puri, Kiran Rijiju and retired General V.K. Singh will travel to Ukraine's neighbouring countries to coordinate the evacuation mission. Aviation Minister Scindia will handle operations in Romania and Moldova, Kiran Rijiju in Slovakia, Hardeep Puri in Hungary and V.K. Singh in Poland. Evacuation from Ukraine is India's topmost priority. Prime Minister Modi spoke with Eduard Heger, PM of the Slovak Republic, a transit point for Indian students who are being evacuated from Ukraine. He requested the Slovak Republic's continued assistance. The PM expressed his anguish at the ongoing violence and humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and reiterated India's appeal for cessation of hostilities and a return to dialogue. The Indian Prime Minister stressed the importance of respecting the sovereignty and territorial integrity of nations. Modi also spoke on phone with Nicolae Ionel Sicua, PM of Romania, and particularly appreciated Romania's gesture in allowing Indian citizens to enter Romania without visas and for permitting special evacuation flights from India. Codenamed Operation Ganga, the mission is challenging given the circumstances, including road journeys for Indians in Ukraine and obstacles created by Ukrainian border guards along the Polish border. The Ministry of External Affairs said a total of 1,396 Indians were brought back in 6 flights as part of the evacuation mission, and the total number of Indians who have left Ukraine since India issued the first advisory earlier this month is around 8,000. The Government of India has said 1,400 nationals were brought back home on 6 flights as part of Operation Ganga, the evacuation mission from Ukraine. The total number of Indians who have left Ukraine since India issued the first advisory earlier this month is around 8,000. Indian Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Bagchi said that 8,000 Indian nationals have left Ukraine since the advisory issued by the Government of India. India began the evacuation of its citizens from Ukraine's neighbouring countries of Romania and Hungary from 26 February onwards. On February 27, 688 more nationals from war-hit Ukraine were evacuated on 3 Air India flights. Bagchi said India was in touch with the other countries in that region to ensure the return of all its stranded citizens. Prime Minister Narendra Modi met senior officials to discuss evacuation efforts amid rising concerns back home about the safety of some 16,000 Indians still in Ukraine, most of the students. Indians make up about a quarter of the 76,000 foreign students studying in Ukraine, mainly in medical courses according to official estimates. Meanwhile, Indian Embassy in Ukraine has issued a second advisory for the Indian nationals to reach the railway station as the weekend curfew in the city has been lifted. The central government also announced earlier in the day that Indians being evacuated from Ukraine have been exempted from pre-boarding RT-PCR tests, providing COVID vaccination certificates and uploading those on the Air Suvidha portal. India and the world are gradually recovering from COVID. Some countries still have problems dealing with different COVID variants. Against this backdrop, India is continuing the ban on international passenger flights until further orders. Only flights under the air bubble arrangements and international cargo flights will continue. The Director General of Civil Aviation of India has extended the ban on regular commercial international passenger flights until further orders. In a circular dated 28th February, the DGCA informed that only flights under air bubble arrangements and international cargo will continue. India has air transport bubbles with Afghanistan, Australia, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Canada, Ethiopia, Finland, France, Germany, Iraq, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kenya, Kuwait, the Maldives, Mauritius, Nepal, the Netherlands, Nigeria, Oman, Qatar, Russia, Rwanda, Saudi Arabia, Seychelles, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Switzerland, Tanzania, Ukraine, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, US and Uzbekistan. Reports had earlier suggested that after a 23-month ban, regular international flights may resume services in March-April. The Indian government in November 2021 had also planned to resume scheduled international flight operations from December 15 onwards. But this plan was derailed due to the emergence of Omicron, which led to the government withdrawing the decision to resume scheduled international flights. Flights under the air bubble arrangements had begun in late 2020. International flights were first suspended in March 2020 after a nationwide lockdown was imposed to tackle the first wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. India is growing its naval presence and supporting friendly nations, especially neighbors in the Indian Ocean region. Indian naval ship Nirikshak, which is a highly advanced diving support ship of the Indian Navy, arrived at the port of Trincomalee, Sri Lanka for training for the Sri Lankan Navy. Indian naval ship Nirikshak, an advanced diving support ship, arrived at Sri Lanka's Trincomalee port for facilitating diving training for the Sri Lankan Navy. The Indian High Commission in Colombo has said. The deployment of the naval ship for 10 days in Sri Lanka is part of India's capacity building initiative under its Neighbourhood First policy. During its deployment in the island nation, the ship will facilitate mixed gas diving training for the Sri Lankan Navy. The vessel has 2 6-man recompression chambers and 1 3-man diving bell. The ship had earlier visited Trincomalee in September 2019 for a similar training deployment for Sri Lankan Navy divers. Such continued engagement of Indian naval ships with the Sri Lankan Navy is in keeping with the Government of India's capacity building initiative as part of its Neighbourhood First policy. The trailer of Dhanush's upcoming action drama Maran is out. Dhanush is seen playing an intense character of an investigative journalist with some action-packed sequences, proudly showing off his versatile acting skills. Disney Plus Hotstar unveiled the trailer of its latest Tamil offering, Maran. The movie starring Dhanush and Malvika Mohanan in the lead roles is written and directed by Karthik Narain. It will release on 11th March 2022 in Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam and Kannada. The trailer introduces Dhanush as Maran, a celebrated investigative journalist who doesn't hesitate to speak the truth to those in power. And one of his exposes on a scam irks a powerful politician who comes after Maran with all his might. Maran has to now rely only on wit and moxie to fight against the entire system and protect his loved ones. Judging from the trailer, Maran's relationship with his sister also assumes a key part in the narration. The film has a blooming office romance between Maran and his colleague played by Malavika. Makers of Sharvanand and Rashmika Mandana's Telugu film Adavallu Meeku Joharlu have released the trailer of the film. The romantic comedy will hit theatres on March 4th. South actors Sharvanand and Rashmika Mandana are gearing up for the release of their upcoming romantic comedy flick Adavallu Meeku Joharlu. Ahead of the movie's release, the lead actors of the movie finally shared the much-awaited trailer of Adavallu Meeku Joharlu. The clip begins with a funny entry of Sharvananda dressed as a South Indian groom. Based on the quirky concept of matchmaking, Adavallu Meeku Joharlu trailers breaks stereotype by giving utmost importance to the bride's demand. Usually in the Indian society, it is the groom's side who control the major decision-making process. However, this Tirumala Kishore directorial challenges societal norms in the most hilarious way, thereby taking a sly dig at the crux of Indian matchmaking. Helmed by Tirumala Kishore, the upcoming movie also stars Khushbu, Radhika Sarathkumar and Urvashi in pivotal roles. After facing several delays, this Telugu movie is all set to hit the silver screen on March 4th. That's all for this bulletin of Daily India Report.
And thank you very much for that report, Himanshu. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's been an PIO TV presentation exclusive for Australian Indian Radio, the Daily India Report. Just this, in closing, I'd like to just show you all those aftermath of what the big cleanup in Brisbane would be like. So this is something that we are waking up to right on our doorsteps. So the Mud Army, there have been requests for people to join Mud Army, come out and help, and this is why it's called Mud Army. And as we know, Queenslanders have always come out in great numbers to help and support this kind of need. So the need is now. So if you are able, please join the Mud Army. Come and help with this massive effort that is required to clean up Brisbane as the flood subsides. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been wonderful having your company on this segment. Before we finish off from this segment, we'd like to show some of the functions and events that are taking place right here in Brisbane. But please, before heading out to any of the functions, do check with the organizers on the status, because sometimes at a split second, depending on the circumstances, the event might be changed or it might be running at a different timing as well. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in and being with us on this segment. Don't forget that we are back at 10 a.m. with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty with the real estate update for this week. And we'll look at what's happening in and around Brisbane and what it means for the real estate sector and what would be happening with the open houses and the auctions and the likes. So all of that coming up at 10 with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty with the weekly real estate update. Until then, it's goodbye from me. It's been wonderful having your company as usual.